could make an argument 4 or 5 of your toughest games were all going to be on the road this year. Was that maybe why you put more emphasis on this year, or why there's been a difference in terms of on the road knowing what you knew was coming?
Well, we knew what was coming. We already knew the teams. It's road games, and we've had 3 out of 4 games this month. We knew this month was going to be heavy on the road, and that's all part of it. You can't change that. It's in your schedule. Every team we play, road or home, I mean, they're all difficult, especially when you get in the conference. But that mindset of being able to get on the road and play well and play in somebody else's venue and have to really handle the travel with some guys that haven't traveled before. That's probably the biggest thing. We try to cover that in camp, how we're going to travel, what the mindset is, so hopefully when we get on the road and we had our chance against Washington State, so we learned from that and kind of built from there. And hopefully our guys travel, they focus, they're ready to play, and that's the most important thing when you go on the road is you want that mindset before you ever get on game day, the day before you're ready to go.
You got the guys wearing slacks now and stuff when they get on the plane, more of like literally a business trip, dressing a little nicer and stuff. What was kind of behind that?
Yeah, just a little change. It was one of those, we had done it before, and just felt like that was something, I think for our guys too, it's not so much about that was going to be the mindset or the clothing that changed our mindset. It's really about these guys are here, they're developing as student athletes. It's a little bit about just kind of them learning to be professional. And you are going to go on a trip. It is a business trip. You're going down there to accomplish something, and so there's a little bit of that to it. But even just for their lives, these guys they do presentations. Some of these guys are doing interviews right now. Some of these guys are doing internships. You know what? They got to get dressed up. That's part of it. You can't always just hang out in your Boise State football gear and your warm-ups and all that. You got to go out there and present yourself. And so I felt like that was something, we talked to the leadership group, they wanted to do, and we liked it. And I think these guys have done a great job with it, and it all worked out. So that's just been something that's just a change, something different.
One of the most common questions we get is why doesn't Montel get more snaps? That's something that people are always asking. What about Brett? Why do you guys still feel good about him despite the fact that maybe he hasn't been as productive this year as he had in the past?
Yeah, he's been pretty good. I know as far as you can look at all the stats. The really only one that matters is wins. So when he's been in there, we've done pretty well. And as far as how we mix those guys up, when people say that, people aren't making those decisions. We are. And we get to watch film every day. We get to watch practice every day. We get to see these guys and be around them every day. So we have more of the answers of why we're playing these guys and the way we're doing it.
Des Williams was a guy who played a lot early on, and then it seems like Call has been playing a lot more in that spot. What's going on with Des? Or is, you mentioned last week that it seems like Call has just maybe been playing better?
I think Call is just playing better. Again, this entire season in football in general, it's always competitive. So, guys get better, and that's part of the deal. So I think both guys have been working really hard, and I think Call has just done a really good job. He understands the plan. He works hard every single day. Hard work doesn't go unnoticed, and that creates opportunities for him. So he's really gone out there and done the work to create those opportunities, and when he's been in the game, he's making plays. So hard to take a guy out that's doing that.
You look at the first 4 games of the season, you guys were averaging about 8 penalties a game, which ranked 95th in the country, and you look at the last 3 games, you're averaging 2, which is 3rd in the country. So was that an area of emphasis for you guys, and why has there been such a big improvement there?
Yeah, I think I told him we get a penalty, you run a mile, so everything got re-emphasized. No, it's you look at every factor in the game. What are some of the key factors? Turnovers, field position, being able to run the ball, stop the run, and then you start looking at penalties, which when it comes down to it, they're not always the deciding factor. But when you do it in critical situations, or you put yourself behind the chains, whatever that is, that was an area like the critical errors, that becomes part of it. And you look at it, and you make a point of it, and you start looking at the numbers and saying, hey, we're averaging this many critical errors. What if we eliminate? What if we even cut it in half? How much better would our drives be? And so you get what you emphasize. I think the coaches looked at that and just said, we need to limit some of these. We can do a better job, and especially those pre-snap penalties, holding, some other things. We get the reports back every week, and some of them that we argue, we're right on a lot of the times, and that's just how it is. But we can't change that in the games, but we can control the pre-snap penalties. We can control the way we respond out there. If it's a personal foul of some kind, we can control those things. So whatever we can control, we're really trying to work on.
I know that the stat doesn't like directly correlate to wins, but in your time here, you guys are 20-0 and you convert 50% or more on third down. Why do you think that's such a critical or successful stat?
Yeah, your continuation of drives, and whether you score or not, you're probably changing field position. So if you're converting third downs, you're probably nearing midfield or getting in a position where you can pin hopefully their offense back, and when your defense is playing well, I think it's a combination. You get a first down, convert some third downs, you're going to extend drives, you maybe get in the red zone, have a chance to score, or at least you're changing field position. So that's the big one. You see everybody talk about third downs, talk about money downs, and that being the one you got to go out there and really do a great job of. We emphasize it all the time. So for us to be able to convert it, or for us on defense to get them from converting it, those are big wins for us.
DeAndre was telling us today that he didn't remember if it was spring or summer, but he said Coach Keesaw came in and talked to the defense about catching balls and stuff. And I'm curious, was that something that you initiated or the defensive coaches thought of? And do you think he seemed to remember some of the specific points he was mentioning? And obviously, they're not dropping as many on the defensive side this year.
Yeah, no. The point of emphasis I made was when we have opportunities for turnovers, we got to take advantage of it. The defensive staff, they brought in Coach Keesaw, and he talked about really the last 4 inches of the catch. So we had chances last year. We put ourselves in a position, and we probably had some turnovers we could have gotten. So he came in there really just talking about how he teaches the wide receivers. When you're going to catch that ball, if you're in a position, you have a chance to make it. Last 4 inches, really focusing on it, how to catch it, how to do it. And I think that's just carried over into what the defensive coaches have been doing. You see Coach Franklin, Coach Ambrose, they get out here in drills and they're throwing balls. We're obviously creating turnover opportunities for the defensive guys, but you're talking about the last 4 inches of the catch to finish it. Because if you're going to get there, you might as well finish it. And we've been able to do that last week. Pierce, a little bit different, but it's still, you're in traffic. They had 2 guys running at him, and he's really concentrating, makes that catch, and all of a sudden, we have a game changer in field position as well. So I think it goes back to what you emphasize. You emphasize it. Those are some areas that the previous year we could have been better at. So, we got coaches on our staff, just because they're on one side of the ball or another, they can go in there and teach guys the fundamentals of the game, and it carries over, and I think it's done a pretty good job so far.
You didn't talk about special teams with Utah State. They've been able to block a lot of kicks this year, right?
Yep.
What have you noticed from them on that aspect?
Really relentless on their punt block. They do a great job of moving guys around and getting them in position to where they're creating confusion for the punt teams. And that's really what they've done. They go hard, they create confusion with their scheme, and they've done it consistently. So you got to do a great job. You got to communicate. You got to have some poise out there. And when you don't, it's just like if we're coming after a team, we're going to try to block one. A lot of times, if the operation's just right, you're probably not going to get there. But you're counting on one guy just slipping up. You're counting on the snap, kick operation just being a little bit off, and all of a sudden you're in a position to go and block a kick. And if that happens in a game, it's huge. That changes everything. And those Utah State's done a great job of that.
I know everyone talks about quarterbacks, but is there a T-Dog battle?
A T-Dog battle?
Yeah, there's two T-Dogs now. I don't know if you knew that.
Did not know that.
Well, there you
Did
go.
you?
Yeah.
What happened to the other one?
No, they're just
they're
creating competition.
doing what you guys do.
Creating competition.
Are they going back and forth as well?
Battling.
Huh?
Battling.
Was there one better than the? Is there one better than the other?